If you want to build a 10K per month content agency, then you have to have a solid editing team. This is one of the key pillars to scaling. In this video, I'm going to show you why you need an editing team, what happens if you don't build an editing team, where to find next level editors, how to make sure they're qualified for the job, and different ways to pay them. So let's dive in. All right, let's talk about building an editing team for your content agency. For those of you that run a content agency, you know this is one of the foundational principles in which you have to nail down in order to have a sustainable and scalable and profitable content agency. So I'm going to deep dive into everything from the history of building editing teams onto where to find editors, how to pay them, and ultimately how to build a workspace and a team that people actually want to show up to every day, a place that people want to be involved with and scale with you. So as you can see right here, this is the short form king pictured above. This is me and this is my agency. And with all jokes aside, this is exactly how you and your editing team should look, sound, and feel. This isn't necessarily about hiring contractors onto your agency. This is about building a team, building a brotherhood, a sisterhood, however it may be, building a strong, reputable workspace that people show up to every single day and they want to be a part of. And not only are you winning, your team is winning, they're happy, they're healthy, they're growing, and at the end of it all, we're all making money, having a good time. So this is exactly, by the end of the video, how your agency should and it will look when you build an editing team. So let's deep dive into the process. Well, first and foremost, why in the world do you need an editing team? It's very, very simple. You need an editing team in order to scale. Now, before I dive deep into all the different aspects, I want to throw back to fall of 2022 and give you a little history about myself. I was one of the first official short form video agencies. So with that said, there was no really any roadmap on where to find editors, how to hire them. In fact, short form video editors was not really a thing. You had to go on Fiverr or Upwork and make an official listing. So I built my agency at 18 to 6 figures from ground zero. And this exact foundation and roadmap that you're watching applies today. In fact, it's probably a little more strict than you've seen before, just because it had to be so tight. I had to hold the ship down in order to get to where I was today. So if you do not build an editing team, I promise you, you will become a slave to your agency. I promise you. And why am I so confident in that? I am confident in that fact because I was a slave to my agency and it lasted longer than it should have. See, I was wasting all of my potential, and you, if you're watching this, you might feel the same. I was wasting all my potential by being selfish and not delegating. It was a very ignorant thing for me to do. So look at this photo over here, fall of 2022. What I did is I just graduated high school and I knew I wanted to be great. I knew I wanted to build a content agency empire. So I took one of the rooms in my house. I completely made it messy, but I took a TV tray, a printer, books, a shoebox, a camera, and a ring light that I got for Christmas. And that was my setup. And I did whatever it took. But I don't want to dive deep into that. I want to show you how I built an editing team from nothing. I was fresh out of high school. I knew I did not want to go to college, and I had no other choice. So I was up 20 hours a day for a month, and it was insane. But the reason because I was up 20 hours a day for months was because I did not build an editing team. So what was I doing? What things was I editing? I was editing short form videos for my personal brand. I was editing some of the first YouTube videos I ever made. I was editing my clients' content. I was editing podcasts and so much more. And once again, at this time in the short form content agency space, it was a foreign concept to easily find, hire, and scale your editing team. And even today, it's not a foreign concept. It's just something you have to learn through a lot of experience and a lot of foundational principles. And I'm going to negate all of that for you, and you can get it all within this video. So let's deep dive into how I slowly but surely scaled my editing team. So fun fact, I started editing everything on my iPhone on CapCut. And this was way before the auto captions and the B-roll and all that stuff. This stuff did not exist. So I was literally ground zero, editing on a little screen, typing in the captions individually, and I started editing my own content to practice on myself. And then eventually I gained some clients, and then I upgraded to an iPad mini. Now, that was not needed, right? I didn't need to buy an $800 iPad, and neither do you. But I upgraded to my iPad mini like a king. I could take some solid selfies. Now, this helped me be more efficient, but it was not going to get me to 10K per month. And keep watching this video, because right now I'm about to unveil the entire roadmap to you. And yes, it has everything to do with building an editing team. So let's do it. At this point, it got to where I was editing 2 to 4 short form videos a day for a client. Now, one of them was a podcast, and they needed 2 videos a day. And I had multiple fitness trainers. I had about 2 or 3 fitness trainers I was editing for. Not only that, the podcast that I was editing for, they did not provide me with any clips, and there was no AI at the time. You couldn't throw it to Opus Clips and Opus would tell you, hey, this moment is great. No, I had to watch every single video, and I didn't have to. Could have built a team. But I went through every single video, and I found the moments. And I had to edit 2 videos a day from the podcast, and I had to post on 3 different social platforms for that podcast. So there were literally days that I was editing, and editing. And it slowly but surely, it sucked the life out of me. And I was making maybe 2K per month in revenue with my agency. I literally became this guy right here, where I was slaving away at my agency. And I knew I could have built an editing team, but once again, I was too ignorant to hand over the work. And if you're in that situation right now, my call to action to you is to not be ignorant and to follow this roadmap. So the one last note before I dive into this roadmap is the benefits of building an editing team. They're through the roof. And I want to be transparent with you. What I teach and what I think is most beneficial is that you should never edit a short form video. However, there are some scenarios to this day with my agency where I am editing some short form videos, but not once am I editing the talking head short form with captions and whatnot. There's some clients which make up about 8 to 10K of my monthly reoccurring revenue. Write that down if you want some extra monthly reoccurring revenue, where I film in person for them. So obviously, there's some situations where maybe I trim the clip a little bit, or maybe I have to tie 2 videos together before I submit it to my editing team. Those are very rare scenarios, but not once should you be adding captions to a video in B-roll. This does not need to exist. So in these instances where I film in person, once again, I prepare the video for the editor on occasion. But in no circumstance should I be editing 100% of a video. To be honest, like I said, I was scared to build an editing team. It was scary for me to bring on new people. It was very new for me to just hand over all this work that I was spending hours on over to a team. But what was even scarier was looking like this guy for 2 months, for another month, for another day. So let's build a profitable, scalable agency. So fun fact, right now, I just turned 20 years old, but a few weeks after I built an editing team, I was seeing 10K weeks at 18 years old. Now this stripe over here should be from, I want to say January 2023, just to go to show you that within that month I did 11.6, but within that week alone I did about $9,400 something dollars. Literally a few weeks after I built an editing team. I bit the bullet, I found short form editors, and now fast forward to this picture, I'm in a high-rise apartment in Nashville, Tennessee, making 10K a week, not a month, a week, and I was only 18 years old. So no matter what stage in life you're in, you're younger than me, you're older than me, this video and these foundations will completely change your life. So first and most important question is, where do we find these short form editors? Now, this is going to be a whole other video of the steps of actually finding them, but I'm going to give you the quick rundown. So now that you understand the magnitude and the significance of building an editing team, I'm going to show you how to find the best editors in the game. Now, the best editors does not necessarily mean the quality of their production. Yes, but communication, submitting content on time, all these different things are variables in which make a really great editor in this space. So you have a few options of actually finding these editors. First, you can look on Instagram. There's a lot of them out there. Facebook groups, there's tens of thousands out there. You can also look on Upwork. Upwork is a little bit longer and a more professional acquisition method of bringing on these editors for your agency. Or if you check out the link below, I have a short form content agency mastermind with over 900 other short form agency owners. And there's a marketplace where editors will showcase their work, but also agency owners can put in job listings where editors can apply. But it is up to you to vet them, but you will know how to vet them after this video. So my number one rule of bringing on an editor to your team and finding an editor is to not go to Fiverr. I was saying this in fall of 2022. This is what I call the Fiverr rats. Now, I have no hate to people that are hustling on Fiverr. It is just not a good idea to try to work through Fiverr and through these editors on Fiverr to build your agency. It's not worth it. There's so many issues that come with it. Once again, I am not against people that are hustling on Fiverr, but Fiverr is for freelancers. Using Fiverr is not for 5K, 10K, 20, 30, 50K per month short form content agencies. So never go to Fiverr unless you go to Fiverr and you have guaranteed work that you can give an editor, and you, without breaking the Fiverr rules, you bring them outside of Fiverr and you onboard them onto your agency. That is a whole different story, but that is not something I recommend you mess with. Let's talk about the Fiverr rats real quick, because I really want you to understand the magnitude and how important it is to have a solid editor. Once again, not against anyone hustling on Fiverr. We've all been there. But at the end of the day, people, individuals, freelancers on Fiverr, they just want to eat up the client's cash. They don't care about providing true value. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you have a short form video agency, you can provide more than just short form edits and different qualities of short form edits. You can provide ideation, you can provide content management, distribution, all these different aspects and variables you can provide to a client. With Fiverr, it's just a one-way street. A client comes to you, they pay for it, the editor fulfills the service and sends it off. There's no real communication. There's no onboarding system. It's very one-dimensional, two-dimensional. Whereas with an agency, you can actually build a relationship with the client. You can increase the LTV, which is the lifetime value of the client. You can build an actual relationship with them, grow with them, and the amount of opportunities that will sprout from that is unquantifiable. So the reason I say Fiverr rats just want to eat up the cash, it's not necessarily a bad thing. These guys are hustling on Fiverr, but they care more about the money than actual relationships and really scalability. With that said, a really good analogy that I like to use, talking about people on Fiverr, but also maybe other freelancers you may run into, is let me ask you this question. Why do you buy Nike, or why do you buy a higher brand or quality of shoe? Well, it's because the quality, the reputation, and ultimately the status in which that brand, in this case Nike, brings you. You don't go out every single week and buy a $10 pair of shoes. What happens? They get destroyed quicker, and it makes it harder for you to get to your final destination. And the same is true with a short form content agency. It needs to be true about it. You need to provide quality edits, great communication, immense value, and understand not only yours, but the client's long-term goals. So why did I use this analogy? Well, I like to look at Fiverr as these shoes over here and your agency as these pairs of shoes over here. Fiverr is for someone that really doesn't want to spend a lot of money. So they go to this quick fix every single week, $5 an edit, $10 an edit, and they just get a quick fix every single time. Whereas with your agency, if you built it right and you've watched my other videos, you will able to establish maybe dominance within the marketplace like I've done, but you can also provide quality edits, efficient communication, where they don't even feel like they're working with editors because your communication and your systems are so clean. And you're also providing immense value. And what happens? What did I mention earlier? These shoes, if you're running, if you're walking, if you're going uphill, it's going to make it very difficult to get to your final destination. But with these, it makes it a lot easier. Now, I've mentioned this in many other videos when we're talking about short form content agency, especially if we're talking about the sales or onboarding or even the service delivery. Seeing where the client wants to go is a very important aspect for you to know. Because what is sales? We're taking them from A to B. So you need to know where do they want to go, and that will determine the level of quality of shoes in which you provide. Are they wanting to grow with you for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year? Well, you can't get there, and you won't get there efficiently with these types of shoes. So make sure your agency provides quality, great communication, immense value, and it understands the long-term goals of yourself and the client. And once again, service delivery, which for the most part is your editors, is a key variable within these quality shoes. So keep that in mind. Let's say you're on Instagram and you find a potential editor, or you're in these Facebook groups, or you're on Upwork, etc., etc. How do you actually vet these editors? There are a lot of things you have to go through, and there's a lot of things that you need to look out for when you're vetting these editors. So finding and hiring editors is great, but what's even greater, trust me, I've gone through it, is doing it the right way. I've literally hired and fired the same individual editor within the same day in the beginning stages of my agency, because that's how stern I was, because they had to follow this system and these morals and this team workspace and atmosphere that I've created to a T, or they do not align. Just like the pricing, having the correct systems and service delivery will either make or break your agency. Remember, having great pricing for your agency is a determining factor, but also service delivery. And a key core component of your service delivery is your editing team. So as you're prospecting, so as you're looking for editors to bring onto your team and you're in the hiring phase, what should you look for? Well, the number one thing that you should look for when you're hiring editors to your team is no agencies. This is one of the most important factors, and it actually broke my agency, and I'll tell you about that right now. So one of the most important aspects is not working with an agency. So fun fact, a little history. 2 to 3 months within my agency, all the service delivery was literally run through an agency in Asia. What I'm about to tell you is completely from my personal experience. So once I offloaded the editing to an individual editor, I then was approached by an agency in Asia, because once again, this was fairly new. It was new to everyone, including that agency in Asia. And they're like, hey, we will edit for X amount of dollars per video. It would be so great. We can take on so many clients for you. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm not going to have to do anything. That was a wrong idea. Basically, the editor that I hired was charging me, let's say, $10 to $30 a video. But what was actually happening was all these videos I was sending to him, he was running that through multiple editors for about $3 to $10 per video. So he was profiting as well. Nothing wrong with that. I respect the hustle. In the big picture, yeah, it's kind of smart to have an entire team editing for you, but it's not sustainable. So basically what happened is I partnered with an editing agency within India. And I would send all this content to this one guy, and then he would send content to these other guys. Now, these other guys were all over Asia. It wasn't like they were in one little house together. So what would happen is some of this podcast content would go to this editor, and the same podcast content would go to this editor. So now all the fonts are different and there's spelling errors. And when there was an error and I would submit a revision, it would take 3 days to get back, because I'm relying on communication from this guy and then this guy and this guy. And it was awful. And it was so bad that I had so many errors and revisions and deadlines missed that I literally lost $7,000 in 1 hour. In 1 hour, $7,000 worth of clients because of this mistake. So I'm telling you right now, do not, if you are approached by an editor or you approach an editor and you vet him, you need to make sure he is only editing the content and him only, or her, whoever it may be. Because this is what will happen right here, is you'll be this guy, your agency will be falling apart, all the editors will be freaking out, they'll be staying up late, they'll feel like they're not getting treated like human, which we'll talk about later on how to make them feel amazing every single day. But this is the last thing you want, is your agency, is your team, everyone falling apart. So the most important thing that you can do as an agency owner is have as much control of the inputs and outputs of the entire process, from client acquisition to service delivery. So you need to have as much control and direction as possible. Once again, it's just a picture to give you a better idea of what it looks like. What happens is I sent all the content to this one main guy, and he was controlling all of these guys, and there was such a lack of communication. There was so many revisions. It was literally all over the place. And also, from a moral standpoint, I didn't know how he was treating these editors. Was he making them stay up all night? Was he respecting their time? Was he giving them vacation? I have no idea. And the last thing I would want is for people to be working for an agency or agencies and they aren't happy and they aren't healthy. So from a moral standpoint, that is why this is not what you want. So what do we fix? The issue with working with another agency, editing agency that is that you will have barely any control or information on the editors. You won't know how many hours they're working, the turnaround time for your clients that you can tell them, the ability to match that vision. That is very, very important. Their spelling competency and so much more. Once again, when my agency scaled from 0 to 10 clients in the span of less than 2 months, I thought an editing agency was a solution, but I was completely wrong. It took days to get the videos back. The videos for the same client had different styles and captions and spelling errors, random sound effects. It was absolutely horrific. And for those of you that have a content agency so far and you've given work to one of your clients that you aren't proud of, or there is definitely an issue within it, you get that awful feeling in your chest, like, dang, I messed up. This is not good. And that's the last thing I want for you guys, because energy and alignment and positive energy is everything. And you need to make sure everything is aligned and everything is working well. So with that said, do not work with an editor running an agency. Your best bet is to find someone that is a freelancer, but they're committed to being a part of your team. I've worked with the same editors for over a year now, and they take care of 90% of my client work. Sometimes I outsource and I white label for other agencies, and I have to bring on different editors from different departments, etc. I just have a few editors that help me run my entire agency, and this right here is exactly what we look like. We are both happy, we are both healthy, and there's bonuses involved, all that stuff we'll talk about in a second. But remember, your editors or editor is human. They are no less than you. They are just gifted this position of editing for you and saving you time. So you need to treat them like a human, and we will talk about all that stuff here in a second. We've talked about where to find short form editors and what to look for in them. Well, there's one thing you need to keep in mind. And we're talking about English content. So content for clients that are English speaking. Second thing you need to look for in an editor is they need to have decent English and or understanding of the culture. Once again, I'm not talking about if you're a Dutch short form agency or if you're a Spanish short form agency. I'm just talking about English right now. This will reduce the number of revisions that you have and will increase your ability to work efficiently with an editor. Is they need to have a decent understanding of the culture and they're decent in English. Now, I want you to keep in mind, please keep in mind, and don't get angry at your editors, because spelling errors are normal. To this day, there are some videos in the first round of editing that me and my team get, that still have issues with spelling. What happened in my first few stages, because I was scaling and my brain was all over the place and I wasn't very worried about the status and the health of my editors, is I would get a video and it would have all these errors. Instead of me having a system and a process of, hey editor, we need to fix X, Y, and Z, I would just get so mad And I would get mad because I had all these high expectations, but these expectations were actually unreal. So what's normal is having revisions. That's absolutely normal. We're not perfect. They're not little robots that know exactly maybe the lingo or the spelling. But what isn't normal is getting mad at them for the mistake or not even paying attention. Guys, there was times where I would submit content to a client and I never looked at it, or my team never revised it. And that is laziness, and that will catch up to you. So don't make that same mistake that I made in the beginning stages. You need to take the time, build the system of revisions, which I put in my 10K per month roadmap in 2024 video. I have an exact system you can follow. So go check out that video if you haven't done it yet. What you need to do, or someone you bring on your team, you need to watch all the videos attentively, and you need to check for revisions within spelling, within B-roll videos. Do these B-roll videos, these pop-ups, these sound effects, does it all make sense? And to this day, for the most part, I still check most of my videos I send to my clients, especially the ones I have really strong relationships with, or they are a higher caliber or a bigger company, whatever it may be. I still like to have hand over that, not necessarily from the revision side of things, but more of a creative and quality control. Because what needs to happen too is you need to have an understanding of what the client wants to achieve through the quality, through the lingo, through maybe the funnel of this content. And you need to be able to take that vision, put it onto your cap, and then be able to direct your editor's energy and their vision to perfectly align with what the client wants. So when I say I'm watching all these videos, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily having to look for all these spelling errors. What it means is I'm typically helping guide the creative direction. So with that said, do not beat yourself up if you miss an error and a client catches it instead. Trust me, I know, once again, you're going to get this deep, sharp pain in your chest like, dang, I just messed up. It happens. It's okay. You're human. Just do your part to work with the editor to fix that revision process, to negate the issue, but also work a little bit better on your part to help revise and negate these issues as well. So language barrier can be an issue, but you need to make sure they're decent in English and understand the culture. And once again, some of these things you might figure out a day or a week after working with them. And if they're coachable, you can guide them through that. If not, you might have to get rid of them and bring on someone else, which is completely okay. Now, the third thing, which is obviously a given, is this editor, not only from an editing standpoint, but from an individual, an ambitious individual, they need to have great talent. And talent comes in many shapes and forms. So, analyzing potential for editors and their portfolio is a must. You need to see what they are capable of or not capable of. So, when you reach out to these editors, and once again, there's an entire flow in which I'll show you, you need to see their portfolio and make sure it's their portfolio and make sure they edited the content. Great talent is not only from the quality in which they can edit. Great talent comes from communication, good turnaround time. They're checking off all the dots and they're making it happen. Now, when you check their portfolio, you need to look, once again, for decent editing styles. Maybe it's better than AI. It's going to depend on what your client wants. Guys, maybe your client wants AI level editing, but the true value comes through the in-person filming, the ideation, the management. You just need to figure that out on the sales call. So you need to check for their portfolio, a decent editing style, assets within the video that actually make sense, and then edits that actually flow. To me personally, at least for what my clients want, if there's overstimulation in every single video, that can be a red flag. So when you're asking the editor for their portfolio, you need to make sure, is the lingo making sense? Is the editing style good? Is there too much overstimulation? Sometimes overstimulation is a direct correlation to the fact that the editor does not understand the lingo and the flow of the edit. So you need to look out for that. All right, so let's say you've potentially found the right editor. Well, what you need to do is you need to reach out to them once again. You need to identify their portfolio. You need to see what hours they like to work in, what time zone. These are all different factors in which you need to incorporate within your service delivery. Another thing you need to keep in mind too is the service delivery. So how fast can they turn around a video? Does the video make sense? Service delivery is part of the vetting process, but it is super, super vital. Keep in mind, this vetting process will typically take process after they've been hired. This vetting process of service delivery isn't necessarily something you can test beforehand. Maybe you get them to do a few edits, but the problem that I found with that is they might not be as serious about the work. Whereas if you're sending them a contract assigned already and they're in your ecosystem, in your Slack, in your WhatsApp, whatever it may be, and then they're testing an edit, they might be a little more professional and they might take it a little bit more serious. So if you truly want to vet this editor and see how good they are, you're probably not going to figure it out until you've actually hired them. I've literally hired and fired people on the same day because they did not align or execute what they promised. Now, something you will never find anywhere else, a lot of editors from Asia or third world countries that are not good in their quality of being an individual on this planet, or their quality of communication or turnaround time, or even editing, usually it's turnaround time, they will make up a lot of excuses. And once again, you will not hear this anywhere else, but a lot of them like to come up with medical excuses, of vacation excuses, etc., etc. Now, granted, there's gonna be some times where this is legit, but if you're like me, you will make sure they are clear and communicative about this. So if my editor is going to go on vacation or travel because we've given him so much work and a bonus, then he'll let me know ahead of time, but you have to set that. Now, if something tragic happens, you obviously can't control that, but what I found from my agency and other bigger agencies is that a lot of times there's a BS excuse that has to do with traveling or some type of emergency. So please keep an eye out for that. If that's a thing that keeps repeating itself, you might want to look a little more into that. With service delivery in these editors, you need to look for good communication, good turnaround time, revisions, and more. So the editor needs to be clear of when they're starting the work. So when they'll receive it, how long it takes, and when it will be delivered. So this is something you guys both need to communicate. Now, if you follow the editing ticket system that I've taught in past videos, you will be able to submit an edit to a specific editor. You will be able to give them a specific date it should be done, and you should obviously give a little buffer for that. And you need to communicate with the editor. Hey, editor, I'm giving you this video Sunday. I need it back Wednesday. Is that possible with your schedule? If so, that would be amazing. This is the type of communication you need to have with your editors. If it takes a few extra hours to complete the video, it's completely fine. But if they're going a few days over than when they promised, that's a whole nother story, and you need to look into that and maybe see if they're telling the truth and if they fit well in your agency. Now, once again, I know this video isn't so bright and lighthearted, but this is a very important aspect of your agency, is having a quality system in your editing team, in your service delivery, and they need to hit it to a T because, guys, this is a content agency. This is an actual business. You need to treat it like one. This is not a side hustle. I don't care what all the other gurus tell you. A short form content agency should not be a side hustle. So do not treat it like one. You need to hit everything to a T. Revisions should not take days either, especially if you have a good system going where your editor is submitting content at a decent time when you're awake and your team's able to review it. Then your editor should probably have that revision back the same day, unless they submit the content and then they go to bed. Then they should have the revision done in the morning. It should take minutes, maybe hours due to time zones, but it should not take days to get a small revision back. So when you hire on editors, this is another thing you want to keep in mind. All right, so let's say that the editor has done their work for you. They've delivered the service. Well, once again, as you're searching for editors, you need to have an expected pay in mind. Typically, an agency will pay a short form editor anywhere from $10 to $60 per video, depending on the turnaround, depending on the quality, depending on how long the editors worked with the agency. But I'm going to give you a little recap before we talk about the payment guidelines. And if you are looking for an editor, the following should be the sequence in which you follow. One, you do outreach, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Upwork or in the short form King's Mastermind. You do the outreach. You then ask for the portfolio. Remember, when you're looking in that portfolio, is there overstimulation? Does the lingo of the video make sense? Are they pretty talented? Can they out crush AI if that is a factor that needs to be prevalent within your agency service delivery? Do they have good turnaround, at least verbally, or did you do a test run with them and they turned around? And then lastly, and this is very important, is you need to ask them what they expect to get paid. What are they worth? This is a really important question. Don't just jump into outreaching, getting their portfolio, and then saying, okay, I will pay you this. You need to see what they are wanting, but also be willing to negotiate. I promise you this, I'm not saying the individual editors in which you reach out to are not worth the value, but a lot of them will shoot pretty high. And I'm not saying they're not worth the value in which they're shooting you, but they might try to highball you. So as you are looking for this new team member, this editor, you need to set the leadership position and lay the ground for what you are looking for. You're looking for a good portfolio, good turnaround time, and you are looking for the payment. Now, how do you go about asking about potential payment? A common occurrence you will see when you're talking to editors is they'll say, I charge X amount of dollars for X videos a month. For example, you pay me $400 per month and I will edit 30 videos for you. I am not a fan of this. I've never taken this route and I'm not a fan of it. I always pay per video, and I'll explain in a second. You can also pay per week, but I only recommend this if you have multiple clients on at least a 3-month minimum. So the reason that I say you can potentially pay per week is that you need to have an influx of clients, because this will then start to eat in your profitability if you don't. So I would say you probably need about 7 clients, and they need to be on a 3-month minimum. And this is where you can start paying a weekly salary versus per video if you'd like. This will help with predictability and workflow and profitability. What I do is I pay editors per video. Sometimes I pay them a little bit more. If I need the clip a little bit faster, then I'll pay them a little bit more. It'll depend on the quality, and it'll also depend on how long the editor has been with me. And I do like to give bonuses as well. Usually when I give bonuses, it's a week or maybe 2 weeks worth of salary to them, which means a lot to them, because once again, if they worked hard, if they're crushing it for you, if they're helping you scale your agency, you should treat them and reward them like the humans they are. Now, one really important factor which you as the CEO need to keep in mind is paying the editors on time. Remember, you need to create a healthy ecosystem. So if you say you're going to pay on this day, then you need to pay on that day. And that also puts you in alignment of making sure you are not overspending so you have the money to pay your editors. Not only that, if you aren't able to pay on that day due to traveling or something, be transparent with the editor. Ask the editor, hey, does this work for you? And try to figure it out. Maybe you need to pay half that day and half another day. Make sure you have clear communication, because the last thing you would want if you were an editor is to do all this work and you expect to pay on this day so you can feed your family or so you can go on this cool trip and you don't get the money. It's the last thing you'd want. So make sure you have clear communication when paying your editors. Now, how do we pay editors, especially if they're in these maybe third world countries or they're in Asia? Well, in regard to paying editors, which once again you should do weekly, or what I like to do is after X amount of videos, sometimes it's monthly, you need to be flexible with their payment methods. When I pay editors and also virtual assistants, is I use Wise and Remitly for the most part. Wise is probably the best platform I've used for international exchanges, and I've processed tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars through Wise for my team. What I like to do is once again set the leadership position and say, hey, we only use Wise, but there may be a rare instance where their bank or their country does not use Wise. So always set the leadership position, but ask your editor, hey, what works best for you in regards to payment methods, and see if their default is Wise. Like I said, Wise is perfect because you can convert currencies, you can just add emails and send the money. Remitly is good as well. I use this only really for my virtual assistants. And then for some of my more well-established editors, sometimes I use these editors when we're working on bigger partnerships or white labels. We'll actually use Stripe because this editor might have an actual entity, and all they do is just send me a Stripe link and I'll scan my face and pay for the invoice. So I would recommend using Wise, Remitly, or Stripe. I would probably stick to Wise and just tie it to your bank account and all that good stuff. So the last thing that we need to talk about, and it's probably the most important aspect, and it's building a relationship with your editor. If there's one thing you get from this video, it's once again, a short form content agency or a content agency should not be a side hustle. It should be a true, legit business in which you value and you build a happy, healthy team ecosystem and workspace. So once again, let's face it, these editors are technically working under you, but they're also working with you. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't have this great, profitable, successful agency, hopefully. So you wouldn't be seeing all this success without them. You wouldn't be able to travel. You wouldn't be able to have this nice lifestyle if it weren't for them. So please realize that they are family. You should treat them like family and they're human. Don't expect them to be perfect because guess what? You're not perfect and neither am I. So you can keep the relationship as professional as possible and that's okay. So what I mean by that is if you only really want to talk to the editor when you're talking about work, that's great. With me and my editors, I like to ask them how their day is. I like to see if there's anything going on in their life. How's their family? What hobbies do they like? And what this does is it takes us beyond just work and we're growing together and you're able to make them feel more welcome and they're more excited to work with you and to be a part of your team. In fact, they're honored. And if you can get your editor to that level, that means you are doing something right, one, as an individual and a human, but also as a business owner. So once again, you can keep it professional, but also you can keep it a little personal as well. If you want to talk about, once again, how their weekend was or what they're going to do, completely fine. Ask them about their family, their geographical location, their hobbies, their goals. You need to respect each other and you need to grow together and you'll be more aligned. Because once again, guys, this is an actual business. I don't care what the gurus have told you. You need to build an actual team, a place that everyone wants to show up to every single day, and a place where everyone can celebrate each other's success, and a place where everyone will pick each other up when they fail. Ask your team, are you having a good day? If not, see why they're not having a good day. See how you can help them out. This is the level of caliber in which you need to execute your team, your service delivery, if you want a truly successful, profitable, and holistic short form content or just a content agency. Alignment, my friend, is energy. Positive energy is everything. Treating people like they're human is everything, and that's something that lacks in today's world. So take care of your editors, check in on them, and build empires with them. Once again, this is a team effort. There's no scarcity allowed. You need to have an abundance mindset of growth, of opportunity, of success. And who knows, you might be changing your editor's life just by showing up and being there for them. So this picture right here, as I end the video, is exactly how your team should look, feel, and sound. You should have a clean workflow and space and efficient systems and operations. And everyone should be happy and they should be healthy and they should be growing and they should be supporting each other. This is what your editing team needs to look like, and it is up to you or the person that you put in charge over them to guide them towards success, towards happiness, to healthy, profitable lifestyle. So with that said, this is the quick overview of how to build an editing team, what it should look like. Once again, what you need to do is you need to reach out to them, and you can do that from Facebook, Instagram, Upwork, or even the short form mastermind in the link below. There's dozens, if not hundreds of editors in there, but it's your job to vet them with this process. Second, check out their portfolio. See what styles they can execute. what lingo they understand, what caliber can they execute at. Then discuss or maybe even test what is their turnaround time, what hours are they awake, what time zone are they in, so you can think ahead for your client. And last but not least, what do they expect to get paid? Now, one thing that I think is very important too is if you grow a strong relationship with your editor and they're executing well and they're helping you be more successful and profitable, I highly recommend giving them bonuses, whether it's on a holiday, on their birthday, or maybe they're not feeling good that day. It's not going to hurt you to drop another $50 to $100 to absolutely make their day, their week, or even their month. You never know what they're going through. So with that said, if you want a truly healthy, happy, profitable, sustainable content agency, it's really going to come down to the workspace and the ecosystem in which you create. And that all comes with the mindset in which you instill and the alignment and the morals in which you instill the second you reach out to that editor. So take this video to heart. I promise you it'll go a long way, and you apply it and you repeat it and you innovate and you adapt. And my friend, you'll build a content agency empire. Now, if you want to be around more like-minded individuals and you want kind of this more in-depth value that you probably will not find anywhere else, because I am a big proponent on giving out as much value as possible, especially to those who want it, then check out the link below, the Shortform Kings Mastermind. At the time of this recording, there's over 900 members within this mastermind. Not everyone's active, but the ones that are crushing it. We have people in there doing 2K per month, 5K per month, 10K per month, 25K per month, or even beyond that, just like I am today. I still run my short form agency. I still teach everything I know. In fact, when I learn new things, I share the value as well. So if you want a great community where you can grow and learn together, check out the link below. We have weekly calls. There's also different levels of the group where we have one-on-one with me. We also have different course materials and PDFs in which you can apply for your agency. And my friend, if you truly want to grow and build an empire, you'll do whatever it takes. So hope to see you there, and I hope to see you in future videos. See ya.